Hello fellow cinephiles, Film Guru here. For those who are new to the channel, my name's Sean, also known as Film Guru, and I started this channel having my particular say on movies and a variety of film content, so thanks for joining me today. Today I'm reviewing Blonde. This was based upon the fictional account of Marilyn's life by author Joyce Carol Oates. Film stars Ana de Armas, Adrien Brody, Sarah Paxton, Bobby Cannavale, Xavier Samuel, and a variety of others, and was written for the screen and directed by Andrew Dominic. The film really looks at the rise and fall of Marilyn Monroe, from her childhood, the struggle she had in her childhood, to ultimately becoming a star and becoming the Marilyn Monroe that everyone knows. And it looks at all the trials and tribulations through her life and a lot of ups and downs and the things that she overcome and the things that she still struggled with right up to her death. Now, this film's, there's been a lot of controversy around this film, and I can kind of see a little bit, but I think people are being a little bit too sensitive, I guess, in my opinion. Like, it's an interpretation. It's not complete truth. There are truthful moments in it, and there are truthful things that happen to her. But there's also a lot of fictionalization in it, which sort of takes away from it a little bit. And I just don't think you can look at it and going, oh, how dare they represent Marilyn Monroe in this way, because it's an imitation of an icon. And the film wasn't as full on as I expected. Everybody was talking about how disturbing and disgusting and whatever it was that they didn't like about it, but I didn't see that. Yes, there are some scenes in there that are quite uncomfortable to watch, but I don't think they were really as full on as I expected. But I guess I'm coming from watching films like Lars von Trier and filmmakers like that who are always about this shock. This is a very interesting film, and it really looks at Marilyn in an interesting way. I think it's beautifully shot. It really is just so creative in its use of black and white and its color, and the certain shots that it uses, and the slow motion and the sound effects, and all of these sort of things combined is just beautifully shot. In many ways, this film really felt like a art house movie. The kind of movies we used to get in the 80s and 90s, the movies that video stores used to have a whole section devoted to these movies. And I thought this was really great. I loved that aspect. I loved that the director was really going for that sort of feel and that way of shooting, and the unique shots and interesting ways about doing things. Some of the shots are a bit graphic and a bit much, I think, in a lot of ways, but I just love the way he creates this world and captures it. I think the acting's fantastic here. I really love the cast they've got to play these sort of well-known people, such as Cannavale, who plays Joe DiMaggio. He's really good here. He really feels like that character, and I think it's really great casting. I think Adrien Brody is really great as playing Arthur Miller. It's the first time I've seen him in something really good, but he seems to be showing up in more movies, which I really love. Xavier Samuels I really liked. He plays Charlie Chaplin Jr., and I think he's really great, because all his scenes are really with Ana de Armas as Marilyn Monroe, and just the connection that these two characters had was really great. But I thought he was really good. I was really impressed with his performance here. And there's a smattering of other actors who do a really great job. Of course, the standard here and the best performance is Ana de Armas playing Marilyn Monroe. She was able to kind of lose her accent a little bit with the voice, and she sort of just became her. It was more like we were watching Marilyn than it was watching an actor play Marilyn. And I think she'd done a fantastic job. There's some really heavy scenes and harrowing moments in it, but she handles it with grace and beauty. And even in the tragic and sadness of scenes, there's something about her that's interesting, and she really gives her all to this role, and I think it's one of her best performances so far, and I'd be surprised if she wasn't nominated for it, because I just think she does such a great job. She looks like her. I love that they recreate particular movies and scenes and sequences that you've seen through photos and videos and a variety of other things, and I think they encapsulate that well, and she really gives so much to the performance. My favourite relationship in the film is between Marilyn Monroe and Charlie Chaplin Jr., Eddie Robinson Jr. as well, played by Evan Williams. Their relationship's really the heart and soul for me. It's sort of this connection between these three people that form a strong bond. And I really like that. And they explore sexuality and things like that. But there's something about that that's interesting. It's like these two men see her who as she really is, as Norma Jean, not as Marilyn Monroe. And it's like they really see her. And there's a connection because of that, and she feels a strong bond with them. And due to what happens, that bond is severed by her decision she made when she gets pregnant. But before that, I just thought that was an interesting element and interesting relationships. I don't know the whole truth on that. I don't know a lot about that aspect. I know quite a bit about Marilyn, but that's something I'm not 100% sure about, and I want to do a bit more research on. But I kind of really loved their relationship, and I liked the way all three actors bounced off each other. There was something really beautiful and powerful about that aspect of the movie. It kind of reminded me of Dreamers a little bit, with Eva Green and Michael Pitt. The bond that forms between the three characters in Dreamers is very similar. I really like the opening when we see Marilyn in her white dress from 7 Year Itch, and she's standing on the grate as a train passes and her dress is bellowing in the wind. I really love this sequence. They slow it down. There's the flash bulbs happening. There's the mob there watching her. And there's something really extraordinary about that. And the use of sound and music is really great as well. And we come back to that scene a couple of times through the film, and I really loved that. I really liked all the sequences, the more intimate moments that are shot in black and white. You get to see her when she first meets Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller, and we get to see these sequences done in an interesting way, and there's a real power to the use of colour and the use of black and white in these scenes. The only thing I would say about the colour is I just wish it was all black and white with sparse colour. Like, the idea of the darker moments could have been black and white, and the more colourful and happier moments for Marilyn could have been in colour. I just think going between the two was okay, but I just felt it would have had more impact if colour was used more sparsely. There's a particular scene where she's sort of struggling to find Marilyn again. She's sitting in front of the mirror, and the makeup artist is putting on her makeup, and it's like she's so desperately to find it, and then all of a sudden she finds it, and there's this moment where she smiles and laughs, coming from sadness into happiness, and just staring at herself in the mirror and laughing, and there's Marilyn again. I thought that was it was an interesting way to show her ability to bring this character to life, bring this character out of her, and how much of a character that Marilyn really was, and how different she really was from Norma Jean. I really thought that was great. I feel in many ways the director was also inspired by David Lynch. There's some really creepy moments in it that really make you feel uncomfortable. It's something that he would have done. There's a sequence where she's alone in her house and these men appear in the house, and it's all shot sort of interesting but creepy way, something that David Lynch would have done that sort of feels a little bit like Lost Highway, a particular sequence in Lost Highway. There's many sequences in the film that sort of feel like Lynch. And one in particular is where it's shot in black and white, and she's going to a premiere of a film, and as she steps out of the car, you've got all these photographers and all these men along the sides of the red carpet, and they start yelling to her, and all of a sudden their mouths start to contort and get bigger and wider, and it's this creepiness. And then we go into the cinema, and we see this one sequence from Some Like It Hot, and then all of a sudden the crowd gets up in really fast speed and starts clapping, and it kind of feels like something Lynch would do. There were so many sequences throughout it. It was interesting. And in talking about that, this film kind of felt like a horror film in many ways, because of the sequences like that were creepy and weird and dark, and it's just felt like there was something after her, or it was kind of like the elements of a horror film. And I guess maybe that's what the director was going for, to say all these things that happened to her are kind of horrific, but doing it in a sort of genre-esque way. The only negatives I would say about the film is I just feel like the sequences in it that didn't go anywhere, they didn't serve any point or purpose to the film. I felt the start of it when she's a little girl, that went on too long. I don't think we needed all of that. I think we could have just had like a simple 5-6 minute scene rather than it dragging on. I like the music used in that sequence though, the contrast between the sadness that she's feeling being put into an orphanage, and then quickly cutting to her slowly appearing in magazines and ultimately becoming an actress. And it took a while to find its feet, I felt. The first, half an hour of the film just felt like he didn't quite know where he was going with it, and it was just jump from scene to scene to scene, and then it slowly started to tell the story. but it was more of an observation. It wasn't a fly on the wall type of film, but it was a film that you sort of watching and taking in, but it wasn't a very linear story at times. And the biggest thing for me is ultimately, I just felt this film was way too long. At 2 hours and 47 minutes, like that just is too long for me. Like 2 hours and 10 to 15, that might be okay. But I think he could have really told this story in 2 hours. There's a lot of things they brushed over. The more interesting things I felt that I wanted to see more of, but they sort of brushed over it to tell this woman who's going through all these pain, this sadness in her life. But ultimately I liked a lot of aspects to it, but it just wasn't as good as I expected, and I don't quite get all the controversy that much about it. Final thoughts. In the end, it's really about a young woman going through all this pain and trying to navigate through it, trying to find happiness and trying to become a better person within this constraint of the world and the life she lived, and within the Hollywood system and how she tried to stand strong but struggled because of the way it was set up. I'm going to give Blonde 3.5 out of 5. A solid film. It's good to see Andrew Dominik making movies again, and it's definitely worth checking out if you like Marilyn, but just know it's an interpretation and it mightn't be completely based on fact. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe down the bottom, follow me on Facebook and Letterboxd. Otherwise, until next time, enjoy the movies.